welcome to Unity of Tempe. And we are in the third week of our series, Do Unto Others. And this series is designed to support us in staying calm and spiritually grounded as possible in the lead up to the election. And each week we're looking at qualities that we can extend to ourselves and to others. Qualities that guide us toward connection in what seems to be a country and a world of divisions and conflicts. And so our focus the first week, who remembers what our focus the first week was? Yes, kindness. And last week it was compassion. Excellent. And many of you loved a particular affirmation which we said last week. And so we'll begin this message today with saying that again. I am compassionate, calm, and spiritually grounded. Yes. So important for us right now. And so now to this week's focus. Let's see what it is. Shall we unveil it? All right. What is it? Humility. And specifically, it's listening more and speaking less. Now, metaphysically, humility is recognition of our place within the larger complexity of the universe. And it involves embracing our imperfections and understanding that our desires, our successes, and our failures are a part of a greater whole. And by cultivating empathy and connection with others and letting go of the ego's need for superiority, we embrace a sense of equality and unity with all beings. One tribe, y'all. as the Black Eyed Peas said, one tribe, y'all, right? Yes. So the words humble and meek, while related, have distinct nuances. Humility is about the way you view yourself and having an unpretentious view of your own importance. Now, that doesn't mean you're not important, because you are important. And we say that every week. We remind you how important you are. But humility is about valuing others equally important and about not having that arrogance that I'm better than everyone else. It's about equality and unity. And so meekness is about our behavior towards others. It's about being patient and non-aggressive. It's about self-control, often in the face of provocation. Now, when I think of humility and meekness, I'm reminded of the series that we did this summer on the Beatitudes, and particularly the first and the third Beatitude. Let's refresh our minds. Let's say it together. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, and blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. So in the first Beatitude, metaphysically, poor in spirit doesn't refer to a lack of wealth, but it is about humility of the soul. And humility is the opposite of pride. And while it's natural to feel proud of our achievements, excessive pride disconnects us from the divine and from the source of all good. To be humble is to not be intoxicated by power, nor possessed by revenge or personal vendettas. In the third Beatitude, to be meek is to open up to the flow of divine power and be God-centered over self-centered. Now, if the word God is like, I've struggled with that word, that's okay. Maybe it's universe, maybe it's another word for you that will work. That's okay. You change it in your mind to what will work for you. But it's to be calm, the antithesis of anger and aggression. Now, we express humility as we listen more and talk less and follow Spirit's guidance. Have you ever wondered why the Buddha is often depicted with very long ears? Anyone? I certainly have. Well, in many Eastern traditions, long ears are considered a sign of wisdom and compassion. It makes me think of the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood. Why? Because all the better to hear you with, yes. But unlike the wolf, the Buddha isn't planning any sneak attacks, just reminding us to listen more and talk less. So the next time you see the Buddha depicted with those long ears, think of it as the universe sending you a message to listen in such a way that others want to speak to you. Wow. Listen in such a way that others want to speak with you. To listen and follow Spirit's guidance. Now that can seem easy at first, right? It's like, oh, I can do that. But it can be challenging, especially when we have to see our part in a situation or make amends or reach out to someone we'd much prefer not to. Seriously, Spirit, you want me to talk with that person? Actually, I want you to listen to that person? Please, God, no. Yes, I do. Go do it now. And sometimes we get Spirit's guidance and we do not like it. And other times we wonder why we're not getting guidance, and perhaps it's because we're not listening. We live in the space of humility when we look at our neighbor first as a person and not as a position. Oh, who's our neighbor? Well, because we're related, it's actually everyone, right? So, isn't that interesting? But I'm talking specifically about the neighbor whose political signs don't align with the ones that we may be too fearful to put up. Anyone? That's okay. The neighbor whose signs to us don't represent what we value and what we hold. And can we see that person beyond their position? We live in the space of humility when we're willing to listen and fully hear each other's fears, anxiety, and pain, whether political or not. We live into humility as we acknowledge that to some extent, we're all experiencing the pains of being human in these times. And yes, we're spiritual beings, and yes, being in these human bodies comes with intense happiness at times, as well as sometimes intense sadness. It can come with wonderful peace, as well as at times anxious worry. And it can help us to stay grounded in what connects us and our shared 99.9% DNA. Yet what often goes on in our minds as we encounter a sign or someone that does not align with our stance, or a friend or family member who does not share our view, may be something like this. You and me, well, we're on opposite sides. How can you possibly support that stance, whatever that stance is? I can't talk about it with you. You never see things the right way. I don't feel safe with you. Too much tension. So breathe. And let that anxiety take a rest for a moment. Ephesians chapter 4 says to us, walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Ooh, that's a good one, isn't it? So notice the scripture doesn't say that unity requires agreement. Isn't that fascinating? Doesn't say that. It is rather that we are to cultivate the qualities that equip us to live in unity regardless of agreement. Let's look at that. We are to cultivate the qualities that equip us to live in unity regardless of agreement. That's what this series is about. Jesus came to change the consciousness of the day, exemplifying love and kindness and grace and humility and oneness. And in his gentle way, he spoke wisdom even to those who attacked him. He didn't give as good as he got. I mean, maybe in the tables in the temple, right? He got a little antsy there. We can agree on that. But he really was wise. I wonder if he had long ears. Anyways, I have to share something because about this idea of listening. So I get these Richard Rohr daily meditations, and I get a lot of emails, and I really actually, spend a lot of time with them. But today I opened it for some reason, and it was all on listening. And I'm like, well, I guess we're in the right series for the right time. Thank you for that sign, Divine Spirit. But Jesus' ministry turned the idea of social stratification on its head. We are people first, the populace, not positions. And the word populace originates from the Latin word populus, meaning people or population. And later in 16th century France, it came to mean the multitude of persons not distinguished by rank, education, office, or profession. And perhaps we should add political party to that list. We are people first, the populace, not positions. And many seem to have forgotten this. So as in other weeks of this series, we have the opportunity to be the leaders we seek. Say with me, I am the leader I seek. Yeah. Breathe into that. Because we can be seeking a long time. But it's hard to listen to people with whom we disagree. I will be the first to admit that. It's easier to assume the worst about them, but the commitment due unto others includes listening. And when we lead with kindness, compassion, and humility, we do become those leaders that we are waiting for. Now, here's a video that effectively models what we've been looking at in this series.
So I think we disagree on virtually everything.
I think we probably do.
What made you want to come here today and do this?
So I've lost a couple of people in my life recently due to politics, and one of them she was my best friend for 10 years.
Wow.
And I just think we can't live like this as a nation. And, the only way we're gonna be able to stop that is if you and I sit down and we have a conversation and we talk about our similarities, and we also talk about all of our differences, and we just appreciate who the other one is for whoever they are and wherever they came from in their background. And I think if we did that more as a society, I think we'd probably be in a better place. What made you decide to come here today?
I'm asking myself that question right now. Well, when Adam talked about it in his sermon, it sounded like a good idea. I have 3 sons. I have one who is left of Bernie Sanders. I've got one that's, right of whoever on the other side. And so we just got things we don't talk about. And it's like, is that really the best way, just to have things that are completely off limits? Or is there a way to disagree respectfully?
I figured you would be further to the right, so I feel like my assumption was that you would be further, and the reality is that you are probably closer to the middle than what I was expecting. So Was I who you expected to be?
No, I didn't expect you to be so nice. I thought you'd be more guarded, maybe. I don't know. All right, so we're gonna go get coffee sometime.
I think so. Here, cheers.
Cheers.
I love that video. And they each had assumptions about the other, and they discovered that they shared some common ground, and they agreed to go get coffee. And ironically, something happened right after this video at home, because I showed this video with Ron, and I said, hey, I'm thinking of showing this on Sunday. What do you think? He says, oh, I love it. And then right after that, he got an alert on his Nextdoor app. Really interesting. So a man called Steve on Nextdoor had written, when I checked my mail yesterday, I found a letter had been sent with a return address that just said neighbor. I opened it to find a letter telling me I am a sorry sap because of whom I'm voting for. It also contained a bunch of false propaganda. I contacted the police, who in turn turned it over to the FBI for election interference. The days of spirited debates must be over. But of course, it didn't stop there, because everyone got into it on Nextdoor. And there were, at last check, when we checked that night, there were 126 antagonistic and defensive comments on Nextdoor in response to Steve's post, continuing the division and hate. Which leads me to share this week's stress relief tip. It is be mindful. Before you engage, and this is good for life, just everything in life, before you engage in discussion, debate with someone who has an opinion contrary to yours, mindfully and honestly consider your goal. Is it to listen with kindness, compassion, and humility, and to build human connection? If so, proceed. If it's to tell someone how wrong they are and how right you are, stop. This will only fuel more division. Do we agree with this? Yes. It's good for anything, not just politics. It's good for anything. Really check our motives. And we can tell someone how wrong they are without physically telling someone how wrong they are, just by our attitude. And then we should stop and go, is it really to build connection, to be a person of peace during a very challenging time? So today we're going to integrate this message with a meditation. I love this. Would that we go to the park, and every single dog comes up. There's one dog called, I think I've shared this before, Bear. And Bear is this beautiful dog, 4 years old, comes up and so happy to greet me. Just so happy, runs around in circles around me, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Can we have that energy for our humanity? Can we get back to just loving each other? My goodness, but I love this kitty and this dog. So I invite you to take a deep breath and uncross your legs if it's comfortable. Put your feet flat on the floor, palms up on your lap. And take some just slow, deep breaths, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly. Allowing yourself to become more and more relaxed with every breath. Going deeper and deeper, feeling the calm and the peace wash over you. Continue breathing deeply and slowly. And imagine a warm, glowing light within your heart space. This light represents kindness. Allow it to expand, filling your entire being with warmth. And now shift your focus to compassion. Think of a time when you felt challenged or made a mistake. And instead of judging yourself, offer yourself compassion. Imagine wrapping yourself in a comforting embrace. Now shift your focus to humility. Acknowledge your strengths and your limitations. Embrace your humanity with all its imperfections. Continue to breathe deeply. As you inhale, imagine drawing in the light of kindness, compassion, and humility. And as you exhale, imagine this light expanding outward beyond your body. Now picture someone with whom you have a very different point of view. It could be a neighbor, friend, family member, or public figure. Imagine them standing before you, surrounded by the same warm, gentle light that you cultivated within yourself. Silently offer this person kindness. Imagine sending them thoughts of goodwill and understanding. Now offer them compassion. Acknowledge their struggles and challenges just as you acknowledged your own. Finally, offer them humility. Recognize that both of you are human with your own strengths and limitations. Take a few more deep breaths, allowing the feelings of kindness, compassion, and humility to integrate within you. And slowly bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Wiggle your toes and fingers. And when you're ready, come on back to the room and gently open your eyes. And carry those feelings of kindness, compassion, and humility with you, remembering that these qualities can help bridge divides and foster deeper connections, even in challenging times. So, beloveds, let's see what happens as we turn up the volume of kindness, seasoned with compassion and humility. And may the divine presence within each of us show us the way to do unto others with humility. And may we know the peace that surpasses all understanding, especially when the world is difficult to understand. And here's a song by Drew Holcomb that really seems to fit.
I don't know about you, but I like to tell the truth. But the truth seems to change every Tuesday. When I watch the news, man, it just gives me the blues. No one listens, just on a mission to hear their own voice. It's a wild world, we're all trying to find our place in it. It's a wild world and no one seems to understand it. It's a wild world, but there ain't no way I'm gonna quit it. Love is all we've got to give away. Some folks ain't got $1 to their name, others got their own jet planes. We all got the same blood running through our veins. Whether or not you pray, black or white, straight or gay, you still deserve the love of your neighbor. It's a wild world, we're all trying to find our place in it. It's a wild world and no one seems to understand it. It's a wild world, but there ain't no way I'm gonna quit it. Love is all we've got to give away. Try a little tenderness, maybe some benefit of the doubt. Another person's point of view, try to listen, not to shout. Hold your opinions loosely, maybe you're not always right. Show a little mercy and hold on to love real tight. It's a wild world, we're all trying to find our place in it. It's a wild world and no one seems to understand it. It's a wild world, but there ain't no way I'm gonna quit it. Love is all we've got to give away. Love is all I've got to give away. Love is all we've got to give away.
Such a beautiful song that really seems to fit, and that's Drew Holcomb if you want to look him up as well. Let's breathe into this. I am a beloved child of God, here to be an ambassador of good. What are we here to be ambassadors of? Good. Let's say that again. I am a beloved child of God, here to be an ambassador of good. Yes. And so now it is time to share our good, our financial good. That is what helps Unity of Tempe. That is what keeps Unity of Tempe here and alive, is by your gracious donations. We wouldn't be here without you and without that. So let's say together, I am a joyful sharer of my good. I remember that as I give, I receive, and that God is my source. Thank you. Yes, thank you. And so remember, that's not just in financial, that is in every single thing. As we give, we receive. Yes, indeed. Thank you, thank you. So we're so grateful, Divine Spirit, for every single person who gives in any way here. We're so grateful because we know that that is what keeps us here. And that's what allows us to affirm and accept that together we are a community of good. And we strive each week to learn how to do that, even in times that are challenging. Thank you, God. Thank you, Kent, for doing that. Thank you, thank you. So we bless these gifts, we bless the giver and the receiver and the stewardship of its use. Yes, we do, and we accept that every single person giving in any way is abundantly blessed, and everyone else is also abundantly blessed as well. And we bless every prayer in the prayer box that ever has been or ever will be, and so it is. Yes. Thank you, Kent. No knitting and crocheting today because Dennis will be back next week. So I'm sure he will contact you and let you know whether he's doing it next week or just going to skip and then do it the following. He wants to do it next week. Okay, so brilliant. And Zoom prayer call Thursdays at 9:30 a.m. We had a wonderful discussion, just a few of us the other day, and it was so rich and deep, and it just helps you feel good. And I can't share what happens on those prayer calls because it's private and confidential. And if you want to know, you have to get on the prayer call and be part of that private and confidential. So if you want to join, you're more than welcome. And thank you for bringing food in, Deborah. And next week is the week, our intentional food collection for Matthew's Crossing. So if you've got things lying around that you want to bring in, or you're at the dollar store, that's greatly appreciated. If you're having food insecurity, there's a website there. If you know someone who is, there's a website there to check out. Yes. Brilliant. Excellent. Deborah's passing around a card, and then maybe at the end we'll keep it going around. If you can, that's... And sign anywhere. You can sign your name or a message. And remember, this is going to Sandy. Yes, brilliant. So, after all that of like, oh, I shouldn't be unpretentious about being important. Yes, you are important. So we'll say, I am important, I matter, and I make a difference. And I especially make a difference this week through living into kindness, compassion, and humility. Yes. So who do you know who needs to know that they're loved? Invite them to be here with us. Okay, so I have to see what's coming next. Yes, all right, our prayer for protection. So we'll say this together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. All is well, and we are grateful. Beloveds online, I do hope that you'll come and be with us in person very soon. Have a week filled with expressing your kindness, compassion, and humility. And remember, you are important and loved.